Hi, everyone, and welcome to Book Club with Bay. I am Bay, and this is Bay. Say hi, Bay.
Hi, Bay.
I almost said this is other Bay. There is no other Bay right now. Um,
Every time I wait for it, though, I'm not going to lie.
uh, anyway, so today we're talking about The Savior Sister by Jenna Morassi. It is the companion novel to her second book, The Savior's Champion, which is the first book in the Savior series.
Yeah.
So, all right. Because she likes to pretend
Ratings.
She likes to pretend that the Awakening doesn't exist.
Which is rude, right? Because I was waiting for the sequel.
So was I.
It was set up for a sequel.
Here's the thing. I don't think there's any shame in abandoning a project, especially like one of your first projects. Like if it just doesn't work anymore, you just kind of don't know what to do. Speaking from experience. But like a lot of authors wind up doing that at some point. It's not an uncommon thing.
But don't lie. Don't pretend it didn't happen.
Like you're a human. Like, you know, admit that you're a human person. I know you like. She's like, I'm a cyborg, but you know. Anyway, so I don't think the stream for The Savior's Champion's on here, but we talked about it when it came out. But we waited for the audiobook for this one because audiobooks. So
well, also they're long. Like the audio, like they're both around the same length. I think there's about a half-hour difference between the two. Savior's Champion is just over 20 hours, and this is just under 20 hours. So they long, and they don't need to be this long.
Which for a companion novel, you know, okay, so real quick, let's just review what happened in The Savior's Champion real quick, or like the basic premise. So the basic premise is it's a guy who has a disabled sister with a spinal injury, joins the Hunger Games for the money, but also he will marry the God Queen princess thing of Thesson, a vaguely Greco-Roman high fantasy world, and that's all we know about it. That's the extent of the world building. So
we also know that we're also told that the land is sick and the savior fixed the land.
Yes, that's pretty much the extent. And also like
savior, she does a glowy glow.
The savior's powers are passed down matrilineally.
Yeah.
And so you win the Sovereign's tournament, you become the Savior's Champion, you become the Sovereign, and that's how they pick the next ruler, which seems like a weird way to pick a ruler, but okie dokie. Cool, I guess.
I think it made sense initially because I can't remember if this is actually explained or if this is just something I've surmised, but the country used to be at war with various other countries, etc.
Yeah.
But also because the country was so plagued and everyone was starving, you want the strongest freaking guy to be married to the savior to protect her.
It's so I imagine though.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if this is explained or if it's just something I've just extrapolated and just assumed.
Yeah, and the other thing that I found that now that I'm looking back on it, I find odd, is that they allow foreigners, because by the way, there are foreigners. Theson's a country. They allow or a kingdom or whatever. I actually don't know. They allow foreigners to compete, which
is weird.
In most societies, most kingdoms, a lot of wars and a lot of civil wars have actually been fought over a foreigner taking the throne.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unusual to form alliances by marrying off a princess to a future king, but she's not ruling.
Right, and so usually it's a problem. And one of the things too just as far as the world building goes, is because of how misogynistic all the men are, but also the fact that the savior is the god queen. It's a bit at odds with like whether or not women are second class citizens. We kind of don't know, and so in a lot of like books that are AUs or whatever, if women, like in Blackwoods, women are not second class citizens. But and the reason why we don't say that is because to them, they don't need to say it because it's not a problem that they have, but it's something that you
show that they're not, instead of having characters say they're not.
Right. It's information you acquire through the text because it's not something that the characters think about, but it's not a problem, so we don't worry about it. Same thing in like the Dragon Ball. Like they don't talk about it because it's not a thing.
It's actually a criticism that the 100 got in its early seasons. It could still be going on. I don't know, but as far as I know, a lot of people who were complaining about this rage quit when, spoiler alert, somebody got shot. But not really a spoiler that someone got shot. But anyway, I'm not saying it just in case there's one random person that doesn't know the 5-year-old spoiler. But they were like, we're glad that, you know, being gay doesn't seem to be an issue and women aren't treated like they're less because they're women, etc. You know, it's a very equal society. However, they don't ever discuss the fact that they're equal. I'm like, but why would they?
Right. And so in a world, in like a fantasy world or an AU world where these things aren't problems, the characters might just not think about it. So it might just be shown through the text unless there was like a movement to make it happen. You know, and that's just something you have to decide when you're world building and what kind of messaging you want to send. Like in Blackwoods, for example, we don't talk about racism because like East Haven especially is very integrated racially, and also as two white girls, it's just not something we felt comfortable tackling. And also just because of how the story goes, it wouldn't have served the story in any real way. And we were like, it's just not something we're equipped to handle. So
I think in a lot of ways as well, it can actually demean the point as well. Like, for example, Buffy. Buffy is a perfect example of someone. Buffy is a strong, independent woman, and you know how we know? Because every episode she's kicking ass.
Yeah, and
she doesn't and I mean, that said though, they do occasionally have to like someone be like, "But you're just a girl," and she's like, "That's what I keep saying," and then she stabs them with a stake, and
that was kind of the culture at the time. Was like kind of pure girl powery thing. I've never seen Buffy, so I can't really speak on that. But as far as we do need to do that. But as far as the Savior's Champion in the world of this goes, we have a lot of misogynistic characters, but we don't know how women are actually supposed to be treated in this world. And so you kind of get the impression that this is just how the author sees women, or sees like the interactions between men and women. But you kind of don't know because there's just not enough world building to tell like what's going on.
Yeah, like, and okay, it's very strange as well, right? Because this is also a world that doesn't appear to have any issues with homosexuality. There's multiple homosexual characters in it, and no one bats an eye. Like it's not even worth mentioning aside from being like, why don't you like me? Are you gay? Aside from that.
And historically speaking, and contrary to popular belief, as a history major, I can attest to this. We do actually talk about gay people and historically and in context and stuff. But the thing about gay people historically is that in a lot of cases, the terminology we use today and the concepts we use today were not applicable in those societies, just in the way that they thought of themselves. So in some cases, homosexuality was seen as like a purely male thing or a purely female thing, or in women, it was thought of differently than it was in men. It's kind of complicated. So we're not given any context. Like, so with this one, with homosexuality or bisexuality, it seems like everything's just cool. But the women question is pretty dubious. Like with her dad's Senate, there's no women, but in all the servants, most of the servants seem to be women. But the Savior's a god queen, and usually, if you have like a god queen, you might see more. Like you might see a society that sees women as more powerful. Like it just, there's a lot of things that are at odds with each other in that respect.
Yeah, like in a lot of societies where homosexuality is like just like normalized to the point where it's not even like you just don't even just like it's not even worth having a discussion whether like about it. It's just like, this is Delphi. She likes eating carpet, and it's like, okay, that's like no one feels the need to be like, I'm okay with that. Like it's just that normalized. In a society like that, you would imagine that sexism isn't particularly a thing there either.
But historically speaking, that's not necessarily true. But it's not. But it's not real life, so it's not impossible.
Yeah.
But we're never really given any context, and that's kind of the problem. But anyway,
I like also the female servant thing as well. Though I feel like as well, because our servant scope is quite narrow in this, it's like the people bathing her and dressing her and being her friendly friends.
Mm-hmm.
That might be that. Like there may be way more male servants. We just don't have cause to see them.
It's certainly possible. So, in any case, for this book,
ratings.
I said this book is like an uncooked pizza. It has all of the makings of a pizza.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the shape of a pizza, but it just hasn't been put in the oven yet. So you fed me a cold, doughy mess. Where like it has so much potential to be really good.
Yeah. Mine is of a similar theme, just a different continent for starters. Mine is like, okay, like I love sushi, right? And like, so I've gotten a really, really like delicious looking sushi roll. There's soy sauce on the top. It looks like tuna. I love tuna sushi. But then, and I take the first bite and that's what it is. But underneath it is just unseasoned, unsoyed tofu. And that's all I have left. Because, like, I'm not going to lie as well, like, the first couple chapters, aside from one conversation that I mentioned to you earlier, I was like, yeah.
Oh, I'm chomping at the bit to talk about this. I'm so ready.
Yeah. But I was like, yep, it's on political intrigue, assassinations. Let's do it. And then I was just underwhelmed.
Yeah, I'm definitely underwhelmed. So another thing about this, so we're getting into characters now. Yes. All right, so we'll go in order. Characters, but I have a lot to say about the first couple chapters. Anyway, so there are too many characters. This is a problem in the last book, but Jenna uses like the same list of traits to describe every character. So every single character, we get a skin tone description, eyes, hair, and that's it. And so it's so hard to differentiate characters because you don't, like in Blackwoods, for example, and I just it's easier to use your writing because you know it really well. Like Claire has violet eyes, which is not super rare in that universe, but it's kind of rare. It's kind of like having blue eyes, like with the same rarity. So not like super weird, unique, but you know. And she also has the hair with like kind of violet undertones. Naomi is not tall for somebody who's not in a coven, but she's short for someone who is. Vincent's the leader. He's really, really tall because the leaders are really tall usually. Like, but they have unique defining traits. Claire is purple. Naomi is short. Vincent's the leader. Like, and also the Blackwood Coven has 29 people in total. We don't name them all. We have them all named. We know who they are. We know what they do. We know what they look like. But they're not all named for you,
the story
because you don't know, because you don't need to know. But like, what we also thought would be really funny is if we did some short stories, like just about what the other people were doing while like our main cast was getting on to like their antics, because like it would be kind of funny.
Like, was this? That reminds me of like the episode of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, where
yes,
like, there's a giant like bee or something attacking the town.
Yes,
but the whole episode is about the other people.
Yes, and it's a great episode, because there are like, we have about half the cast named by the book that's published now, or about half the coven named by the book that's published now, but it's 29 people. You're never going to remember that many people, so you don't have to name everybody. The other mistake that Jenna makes is, instead of having an existing character do a thing, literally anything, we just create a new character out of thin air. They just pop into it. It feels like they pop into existence out of a smoke cloud to be like, hello, this is this character. They have this color eyes, this tone skin, this color hair. They are this tall, and they're wearing this, and they're going to do this, and then you're never going to see them again. And you're like, ah.
Yeah. And like, some of them, like, I think, okay. Like, I think the first, like, there's a few people that, like, they end up getting killed, but, like, they still, some of those ones that I don't mind that they existed because they still serve some sort of purpose to the story. Mm-hmm. Some of them. But I feel like a lot of the characters in this were literally just there so she could be like, check out my world building. Because also, I can't get over, the number of freaking reviews on this that praise the world building and the character development.
What world building? What character development?
What character development?
All right, real quick, let's go over the characters.
These are some of the most two-dimensional. Do you want to let's bring up the pictures.
That's what I did. I got it. So
she got a new character out.
Yeah, she did. I don't know why, but that's fine. You know what, though? Like, one time I was looking through Google for something. I forget what. I think for a reference for a character. And I actually found the image that the old Tobias was based on. Like, and it was pretty much exact. I think I sent it to you. And I was like, maybe that's why. I don't know. So this is Tobias. He's the guy that enters the Hunger Games. She also hates it when people call it the Hunger Games, but I'm sorry. It's a battle royale. It's a tournament where people go in, they die, whatever. There's a lottery. Like, it's the Hunger Games. What do you want from me? He's our main character. He's the artist. He does an art.
I will say the original Cosima, I can't stand the pronunciation, but the original Cosima was way prettier. I'm going to do a quick, because I just have it up. So give me a second.
Layla, this is our God Queen. We'll get to her. I have things to say about her. We're gonna wait till we get there. Cosima, she's evil because we're told she's evil. And
what she ends up being is she's incredibly vain, self-centered, and she likes being the center of attention a wee bit too much.
But there's also no nuance to anything she does. There's no nuance to anything anybody does.
No.
Especially not the people who are supposed to be bad. And so Brontes, this is Layla's dad.
It's a V.
Huh?
His name is Brontes.
It says Brontes.
It's spelled Brontes, but it's pronounced Brontes.
Whatever.
And she gets annoyed when people call him Brontes. I'm like, well, why did you call him that?
This is him. This is Layla's dad. This is the Sovereign. He is evil, but we don't know why he's doing anything he's doing. He's just doing, I mean, this is true for almost everybody. He's just doing shit that doesn't make any sense. And we don't know.
We know why Kaleo is doing what he's doing. We know what his motives are. He's getting paid. He's getting paid.
Yeah, so this is Kaleo. Also, spoilers. This is book Glow with Bay, not spoiler free book review with Bay. We're going to be spoiling, I mean, by function of spoiling this book, we're spoiling TSC as well. So he is the shepherd. I wish he, like, I saw a review that was like, if he had been an actual shepherd, that would have been hilarious. And he's not. And it's kind of a bummer. So, I mean, the knife gives it away. He's an assassin. Then there's Delphi.
Oh my God. Yep. Sorry. Carry on.
Then there's Delphi, the lesbian sister best friend. Pippa, she acts more like a pet than a person, but she has some sort of undisclosed developmental disability.
I think she's effectively 8. I think she's 8.
But
I mean, she's 20, but she's 8.
But as people have pointed out, I think Jenna has said she's autistic. As people have pointed out, that's not really how autistic people act, or like just saying, oh, they're 8 in their head is not an accurate representation of things. And I can't speak on that. I don't know enough about it. I think it's worth pointing out that that's what people have said.
Yeah, I mean, I will say some people have said that how Jenna has written her is a bit offensive, and I'm like, I've got peeps in my life that have autism and developmental delays, etc. I definitely wouldn't call her autistic in any way, shape, or form. She's not. She has developmental delay.
Yeah, I mean, if she's supposed to be autistic, like I said, I don't have experience with this, but from what people have said, this is not an accurate representation, and just saying that she's young in her head is offensive and is not accurate. Yeah. And that most high functioning autistic people who are verbal and can mostly navigate the world are not young in their head. They communicate differently, so not acting like they're adults when they're adults is kind of productive. But
I think if there had been, like, because it's never explained really in the book, it's more just what Jenna herself has said outside of book.
Yeah.
If she hadn't tried to explain it at all, it would be perfectly fine. Like, I don't think Pippa is an offensive character. It's only if you try and tell me she's autistic that I'm going to have problems.
Yeah. Flynn, I think he's one of Toby's friends, but we're supposed to hate him. I think Jenna gets mad when people like him, but I don't know why. He's
it's because did you reread Savior's Champion?
No.
Okay, I'll tell you why. I will tell you why. Because so Flynn, I'm pretty sure he's the prince here. That's his Laurel.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's the prince.
Okay.
But Tobias saves him. I think the first.
I do remember that.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "I pledge my life to you, and we're gonna be friends."
Yeah.
Yes. And then Toby's like, "I don't want to be friends."
And, like, at first he's just like that really, he's a bit more of an annoying kind of like, we're buds and everyone's going to be buds and how cool am I and this and that. But then as it goes on, like after the first blessing, he's like, Tobias, I'm a little bit upset that you didn't tell me you were blessed. And he's like, why? And he goes, because she's the love of my life. Oh, because Flynn also helped train Tobias for the battle, like that initial battle.
Yeah.
And stuff. But then after that, he's like, she's supposed to be the love of my life. Don't do it again or I'll cut you, okay? But we're still bros, right? And then as time goes on, he's just like, Tobias, stop hitting on my woman. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. And then he just gets more and more like insane, like in terms of like, she's the love of my life. And he's like, you've spoken to her for 2 seconds. And she's like, but I love her. Okay. And then he wants to expose them. And then it's a thing. And then he goes all batshit crazy in the final battle thing. Tobias almost wins, I'm pretty sure, because I didn't end up actually having time to finish it. But from memory, Tobias almost kills him. And he's like, no, I will not kill you. We will both live. And Flynn's like, no, I'm going to kill you because she's mine. And then Layla's like, no. Or Leela's like, no. And then it yeah. And now is Layla engaged to Tobias? Is she engaged to Flynn? Who knows? She doesn't know. She doesn't know who won.
Orion, I have no idea who this is.
That's the hunter guy, the archer dude that he actually is a bro. He's a good guy.
Does he die?
Yes, in the archery challenge.
Why would he die in the archery challenge?
One of the assassins was trying to kill Tobias, and Orion jumped in front.
Oh, okay. So then,
yeah,
I think this is the queen that has a conversation with.
Yes.
Layla.
Yeah, and Enzo, and you know Enzo, the one that gets released by. Yeah, that's his queen.
I think this is an assassin. I don't know who this is either.
No. That's, I'm pretty sure. No, that's the one that's in prison. The one that was.
Oh, is this Dungeon Daddy?
Yes, that's Dungeon Daddy.
Okay. We'll get to what Dungeon Daddy is.
I only know that because of the quote.
This is a servant. Whatever. Also, just a servant. This is a golden retriever who Layla is mean to for no fucking reason.
Enzo, she butched Enzo up for this because like if you look at my one, this is original artwork, Enzo.
Yeah.
He looks a little okay there.
So this is Raphael. He's a thing. I think this is a servant. This is Romulus who.
No, yeah, she's the.
Who is this?
She's the one that washes his dick in the bath.
Okay, this is Romulus. We'll get to him. I have a lot to say, but he's a guy. This is Wimbledon. He's a sports announcer. I don't know who this is.
That's the one that that's the senator that she was following all day. He wasn't doing anything sus, and then he ends up in a bedroom and tries to rape her.
Cool. Who is this? Is this another senator?
Yeah, that's the one that finds her in with Dungeon Daddy, and then she chases after him, and he almost kills her, but then she kills him.
Okay, this is
the chick who dresses her.
Cool. All right.
Who is yeah.
Thank you, Chuck. Sorry, I didn't see that initially because I was looking at the character page. And being confused. All right, so the plot.
And there's more characters, okay?
That's not all the characters. We'll get to stuff. So we start with a prologue and it's called The Betrayal. The chapters have names. I stopped keeping track of this after a while, but so for a while we're gonna have the structure. By the way, I took notes, so hopefully that'll keep us on track. But we are already 28 minutes in, so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, so she sees auras. I think this is not really explained well. Her dad doesn't have pretty colors. There's a senator and her father. I thought Romulus was her father because all these characters are the same.
Yeah,
but they're talking.
So we don't get an age. I'm assuming she's around 8 to 10.
Yeah, that's what I assumed. But I Layla is tiny. Don't forget how tiny Layla is. Never ever forget that she's super tiny and she's really tiny. And also Layla's so petite and she's so tiny. Oh my god, she's super tiny, like a little flower ballerina dancing person. Like she's so tiny.
Yeah, but then she discovers she can teleport.
She can teleport, which is a cool power. I don't mind that.
Sorry, she can shadow walk.
And then she sees some women who are mummies in the mirror. Also, okay, so the writing in this, real quick, before we go any further, is better than in TSC. It's a little smoother. However, half the time I had no idea where we were, what the setting was. There was some very good signposting. I didn't know how much time had passed. Like, where are we? What are we doing? What's going on? I'm confused. And so I don't know how we got from senators talking to mummies in the mirror. But yeah, what?
I will say though, it was made a lot clearer in this book how long the tournament, like, because the tournament was a month. In the first book, it felt like 3 days.
Yeah.
Really, really long 3 days. But this one, there's like, it was a lot clearer when, like, the down days were a lot clearer. And I was just like, because when I was listening to this one, I'm like, I swear we should have been doing other stuff by now. And it's like, no, there's that thing I was waiting for. It's just there were days in between them, apparently. Did not know.
So we learned that Layla cannot teleport past the castle. We don't know why, which is fine.
We
don't
find
need
out
to
later,
know why
though.
right now.
Yeah.
Child Layla hears her father scheming because her father's a dumb fuck. Also, everybody in this book is a dumb fuck. Everybody.
I will say though,
idiot.
The secret message passing location is like the one smart thing he's done. He found an inconspicuous way to pass messages.
Yes, that's true.
He's done one thing right.
And so Layla, because her dad killed her mom, and then Layla was born in the street from a C-section.
Yeah, Delphi's mom cut her out, and so Delphi's mum is her other mummy. She's got 2 mummies, her mummy and her nanny mummy.
And here's the thing we never find out really is why the fuck is Bronte, whatever? Why is he doing this?
Because he wants to be the king.
But if the savior is the only thing keeping the land, what?
I think because he's not from there. He's from another country. This is the best I could gather from what minimal explanation we got at the end, right? From Hobag. He gives 0 fucks about that country. Like, he's just like, it can all die. I give 0 fucks. However, death of wife and daughter, and now daughter, right? Because he had to find a different person to. Death of daughter is justification for war against person who he plans to frame for the killing of daughter. Therefore, he can war with country, take over country. People will be behind him, and at the point that the country dies, he will have already taken over other country. Yes.
You can't feed an army with no food.
It'll take a while for the land to die though.
But there's no way of knowing that. It's been like so many years since the thing.
Yeah, it's been centuries, so I don't.
And so they have no way of knowing that.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, no one ever accused Jenna of being really good at world building except for the people that are sycophants.
The plan makes 0% sense. And
you know what? You gotta hand it to Leela. She's like, this makes no sense. And then I guess the explanation is he just doesn't care that it makes no sense, because that's the only explanation we get. It's like, he knows it makes no sense. He just doesn't care.
Having a character point out that the plan makes no sense doesn't excuse it when it's supposed to be the amazing plan that we're freaking unraveling and that we're fighting against. Like, you can have a thing not make sense and a character do something that's illogical, but like, it cannot be your master villain. But like,
it would make the most amount of sense if he didn't believe that she was still keeping the land alive. But it's made very clear, no, he does believe that she is. He just doesn't care.
But anybody who would have an army would support an army. But then, and also losing the savior would make people lose morale, which would make them like, it's so complicated. Why would you do it? Anyway, so Romulus, who is not her dad, has a kid. And Layla's like, oh, I'm going to die, but not now. Because I don't know why you would delay killing the savior, but whatever. So she's like something, and then she goes to Romulus's bedchamber, and we kidnap Pippa. I have so many fucking questions.
Who is Romulus's granddaughter? Her
Yeah.
mother's dead.
Even if
I'm guessing her mother was his daughter.
Even if Layla is a child, and okay, here's the other thing. At this point, it's made clear that her dad is a dick, I guess, but it's not made clear right now that her dad is abusive towards her in this text alone. So what happens next is really wild. So even if Layla is a child, this is so illogical. So Layla now as a child threatens Romulus with Pippa at knife point and is like, give me your child. You now work for me. And what?
Well, we did via Layla, we did just overhear Daddy saying, so friends, our evil plan scheming time. Tomorrow my daughter shall be murdered. And they're like, yes, indeed, sire. Your daughter shall indeed be murdered tomorrow. And he's like, excellent. Let's murder daughters tomorrow. Just in case my eavesdropping daughter did not hear, we shall be murdering my daughter tomorrow.
Yes. And then
this is how sneaky they are. These are the conversations they have.
And then my other question is this: why would Romulus be scared of a small child, even if she is a savior? He had the adult savior, who is actually the God Queen, murdered.
Don't know.
But okay.
Because it served the plot, okay? It served the frickin' plot.
But Romulus is like, oh, I'm fine with you kidnapping my granddaughter. That's fine. And you're just cool. And now I'm going to be your bitch. And now Layla, 10-year-old Layla, has to, because Romulus was keeping his disabled child.
It's Leela.
Her name's Layla.
I know, she does not spell names how they are pronounced, apparently.
Has to keep, because Romulus is keeping the disabled child hidden so that Brontes, whatever, doesn't something to the child. And so now 10-year-old Layla has to do that. How's she going to accomplish that? She's just, whatever. So,
I also don't. Do you want to know the most annoying thing about this whole thing, right? The whole thing, this whole book is she's like, I have to unravel, kill everyone following Daddy Dearest before I can take Daddy down. I'm like, why don't you just slit his throat in his sleep?
We're not there yet.
That will solve every problem in this book.
I know, but she doesn't want to do that for whatever the reason. It's not like anybody in this castle ever investigates murders. But I never thought I'd say this about a book this long, but I already know nothing happens after this. Like once we get past the political stuff, because we just repeat the Savior's Champion, so it doesn't matter. But we should have spent so much more time with Layla as a child, like exploring her life as a child, and like why she is the way she is would have been interesting. We could have gotten some world building. And I get that Jenna is so focused on these books being adult that she's like afraid to not be able to say cock. But
you know what? I'm actually I'm gonna bring up the ebook. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm bringing up the ebook. Are we ready for the word count?
But in adult books, you can. It's Layla.
You can't do it. Okay.
I like that. But in adult books, you can spend time with your characters as kids, and you can be exploring those adult themes with them as kids, and you can actually give us some interesting information and content. But she was so focused on the romance that she forgot to write a book. And yet you can't be like, here's political intrigue, but it's going to be a romance novel. Like, that's not, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Okay, I'm doing the cock search.
So, but the biggest issue with this prologue is that she wanted to keep it prologue length. But if this had been chapter 1 and you had even made it 1 or 2 or 3 chapters and you had let us sit here with Layla and, and that kind of thing, like, don't be scared to let us sit with your child characters. If it's important and we need to see it, because the length of the content that we get,
67 cocks.
Yeah, that's too many cocks. The time we get to spend with child Layla is not long enough, given how important it's supposed to be. And this should not have been prologue length. What?
No, just some of this. Just some of these.
Search apologies. How often is apology said?
Just some of the, because when you search a word, obviously, like the sentence itself comes up.
Oh yeah.
Just some of these, right? The two of you are about as discreet as a giant cock flopping about the room. A pathetic cock indeed. He clearly wants to fuck you too if he's writhing his cock against you. Or also everything to do with Layla is capitalized. So you, if someone's saying, Layla, you are the savior, the Y on the U is capitalized.
It's a lot.
It's addressing the God Queen. Okay, so apologies. Oh God.
How many?
I don't know yet. It's still loading. 89 apologies. And in the Savior's Champion, because I have that up too, let's do the apologies count for Savior's Champion, because I'm so sick of the word apologies. I'm freaking sick of it, babe.
No one says sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all apologies.
Also, women in these books don't
65.
walk anywhere. They skitter, they float, they scamper.
They don't even stroll. They don't strut. I'm sorry, but
it's distracting.
Kasima, I don't believe I don't even think Kasima even sways. I don't think she even sways. You could have her sway and it wouldn't be weird. Because she's a strutty bitch.
Because, forgive how this is worded, the walking animation should blend into the background the way that said does. Mm-hmm. Unless someone's doing something particularly weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so point being, we needed more time with Layla as a child. And this is kind of just something about companion books. Companion books need to add something. There needs to be a reason why you're retelling this story or retelling something like that's a sidequel. And it doesn't have to be the same story twice. So it doesn't have to just be a prologue. Like you can really sit down and be like, here's Layla's story. But again, really worried about the romance, so we don't get a story.
Like Dungeon Daddy, I'm still really confused.
I don't understand Dungeon Daddy either.
All I know, it takes a minute to get what little explanation we have of him.
Yep.
But even that is like, but let's just get this out of the way. Yeah, so he was in the last Saviors tournament with Rontes. And I don't know. I don't know if he almost won, and it was the same sort of thing where he's like, "I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to chain you up in my dungeon." Like we don't know. We don't know what he was actually in love. Like he was proper in love with the last Savior.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we know. Right, and Leela goes down there and she's like, Dungeon Daddy, give me guidance. And he's like, here is guidance, child. And yeah.
So chapter 1 starts. Layla's naked in the garden doing a blessing or whatever. Delphi's like, bless harder. And then Layla doesn't know anything about Thesson, which I guess is the excuse for having world building, but we don't know anything about what happens inside the palace either. So, Cosima, whatever, has big tits, therefore she's evil. Asher was recruited from what border we don't know, but he's the golden retriever guard person that Layla's mean to the entire book.
And he still confesses his love to her, and I'm just like, oh, bless you.
He's such a golden retriever. It's really sad. And so at this point, Layla sees him and she's like, oh, what a piece of meat. And then Cosima introduces Layla to Asher like a bro, and Layla's really ungrateful, but then Asher faints, and that's because Layla, by the way, is Edward Cullen. She glows in the sun. And Asher's just a wholesome himbo about it.
He sparkles in the sun. How dare you?
Whatever. Asher's a wholesome himbo, and Layla's like, you did that on purpose. How dare you? Jen is pretty obsessed with like how white Layla's skin is. It's a little weird, but anyway. Also, we've decided that Cosima did a bad thing, even though Asher was hot and Layla was horny about it, and like nothing really that bad happened. But anyway, so like, because then Cosima's like, do you like him? And Layla's like, no. And Cosima's like, okay.
She's like, so is it cool if I do a fuckadoodle? And Layla's like, of course you can do a fuckadoodle. And then she does, and then it's like,
and then Layla gets really mad about it. She asked permission. Like, I don't know why I'm mad. So then we're in a Senate meeting. So many Senate meetings. We hate Brontes, her dad. By the way, Jenna doesn't really emphasize that this is her dad. I don't know why. With so many characters, you really need to emphasize that. It's fine if Layla doesn't call him her dad.
I think it's because it's clear that I think it's because it's established in the first book that it's her dad.
Yeah, well,
because I will say as well, you definitely, if you haven't read either, why are you here? Because spoilers, but also please stay because we're saving you the trouble. Yeah, you definitely should read Savior's Champion first. Like she at least did them in the right order. This definitely should not be read until Savior's Champion has been read.
And we hate Brontes, and like, and he's done him bad, but there's, and right now you're kind of waiting for the nuance to the bad because you're kind of like, okay, but why? Don't hold your breath.
Jenna book.
Don't hold your breath.
It's a fruitless task.
The people whomst are bad, and the people whomst are good, and that's just it. So, Layla is like, I'm turning 20 like tomorrow, I believe, and I'm gonna rule. And they're like, oh, we wouldn't want you to hurt yourself. And then she's like, oh, this guy's the master of bullshit. I don't remember who she's talking about. And they're like, you can't rule. And she's like, I'm the God Queen. And
they're like, your only role is to do the blessings in the garden. Go back and do your magic tricks, little button you.
This whole conversation is so weird.
Oh, wait, what is that? There's a really weird line here.
You can look it up by searching cunt and tits. You can find this conversation.
No, that's not it.
Developed a taste for cunt and tits. That's in this conversation.
Oh. Okay, yes. I found it. Like,
so
I honestly, I swear half of Daddy's dialogue is literally just to be like, see, he's bad. Like, but no one, not even in the land of apologies instead of sorries or excuse me's, no one talks like this. Because Daddy's like, consider us your surrogates. And she's like, are you going to whip out your tit and have me suck it dry, mother? And like this isn't how people talk in senates, right? Like even in this world, it doesn't happen. And then Daddy's like, Leela, you vulgar shit, still your tongue. And it's like no one talks that formally and that crassly at the same time.
And then,
Leela, you vulgar shit, still your tongue.
It's also unclear what the goal here is, because anybody who knows anything about politics would know that stopping the God Queen from being the God Queen of a people who are used to having a God Queen would be dumb.
Unwise.
It'd be dumb.
And Leela hands them a solution. Like, just say, like, let's work under the assumption that they don't believe that her doing a blessy bless does jack shit, right? They think the land would be fine without the savior, right? They still need, for the people's sake, the appearance of a savior. And it's not until Leela hands them an alternative on a silver fucking platter that they're like, oh, this could work to our advantage. Like,
which makes no sense.
Like, she solves a big gaping hole in their problem. Like, there was a hole, and she's like, oh, have some dirt to fill that hole, please. And they're like, thank you. And she's like, why are you thanking me? And then she gets confused.
So the other issue that's kind of arisen here is that when she was 10, her dad was about to kill her, and then Romulus's kid got stolen, and then her dad hasn't tried to kill her since because Romulus's kid, who her dad didn't even know about, got stolen, which, like, anyway.
Yeah, I think it was because he doesn't want her to be killed within the palace, because then it's like, oh, well, it obviously ties back to the palace. It's not out in the open, so she hasn't stepped foot outside the palace because, you know, that was going to be her first ever out in the open thing. A lot of this we have to just assume.
Like,
okay,
everybody's an idiot. So then Layla's like, I don't want the tournament. That's dumb. And they're like, well, you need a husband. And Layla's like, well, what if I've developed a taste for cunt and tits? And a good author would have had the dad be like, all right, we're going to have women fight for your hand then, just to back her into a corner. Like, something like, we'll throw women into the mix then. Well, how about that? We'll just murder women. Why not? He's supposed to be a brutal piece of shit.
Yeah, but then also there's no potential for breeding in a same-sex relationship, though.
I mean, yeah, but like, it would have been a way to back her into a corner.
I know, but the tournament's not for love. It's for breeding. It's a breeding program.
But there's just no back and forth. Like, there's no interesting power play. It's literally just a weird argument.
It is, but also though, no one also, like, she's gone out of her way to just be like, when can I use a bad word just to show that I can do a swear? I know the swear words. I know them. Here they are. Tits and cunt and cock and tits and cunt. That is this book.
Here's a cute little thing, right? You can write an adult book without swearing once. You don't have to, but you can.
Or you can have the swears, sure, and you mix them up. You don't recycle the same ones over and over again, or they just spread sporadically. But also, when you do want to have swears in your book, you are still allowed to refer to body parts by more than one word each.
Yeah.
Like,
So
nowhere in this does it refer to a hoo-ha or a smushki. I'm not asking her to use those terms because that would be weird to have in a book. But she doesn't refer to them as anything other than
a cunt.
A cunt.
Or a cock.
That is the only vaginal term in the book. And the only penile term in the book is cock.
Yep.
No penis, no dick. Oh wait, sorry, there's also nethers. My bad, there's also nethers.
So
because that's yes, we have cock and nethers.
So then after this, Romulus talks to her and he's like, they think you're weak. And Layla is like, good. And we're like, okay. And then Romulus is like, this is going to happen with something. And she's like, he's like, Galenor. She's like, the Vault Keeper. And I'm like, what's a Vault Keeper? Nobody tells us. And then.
Yeah, like, she comes up with, like, with names for things that already have names and then just doesn't explain them. Like, in a lot of things, like, if he would, because you know what would have been an appropriate name for Vault Keeper? Keeper of the Coin.
Yeah, or treasurer.
No,
or
if you,
you know.
I know, but if you want to have it in a, like, you know, in a kind of more medieval or like sword era type name, like Keeper of the Coin, that would.
Guardian of the Treasury, whatever. Like,
yes,
something. What's a Vault Keeper?
He keeps the vault.
The vault of what? Swear words? Like.
Yes, that's why. It's like the Disney vault. He only lets three out at a time.
Sacred swear words. You may only use dick on Christmas and New Year's. Like, what the fuck? Anyway. So then he's like, this guy's gonna be Proctor. I want to be Proctor. We're gonna make Romulus the Proctor. Make it so. And I was like, what is this plot? Okay, those are my notes. Galenor, we're going to someone's chamber.
Galenor's the one that I don't care that she killed, because I'm just like I don't care about his existence, because his existence kind of does serve a bit to the plot. It shows that she's a stabber.
Well, yeah, but that raises its own issue, and I'm about to get to it. So
okay, you get to that.
So we get into his chamber, and he's jacking off because of course he is, and then Layla brutally murders this guy, and my note is $10. We're not supposed to see her like Jorg, but she's acting like Jorg. There's green oozing. Oh, it's his aura. And then she murders a guy, and then she says to him, I wrote this down, don't give me that look. You're useless to me. Delphi, I've made another mess. Help me clean it up, would you? Yeah,
like it sounds so sociopathic, doesn't it? Like, oh dear.
The text says that she's completely immune to how this feels. And here's the thing. Okay. I love Prince of Thorns. I don't mind this. I don't. In fact, I'm like, oh, okay. But you can't have a character act like this and then be like, but her dad's a bad guy. I'm like, we see you kill more people than we see your dad kill. So, like, you can't.
But they're allied with her dad. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You can't just have her be a merciless killer and then just not address it.
She could have just done a slitty. If we'd gotten more of an explanation as to why she was killing them instead of killing her dad first, then fair. But all it is she's just like, no, I need to unravel Daddy's plot. I'm like, why don't you just kill Daddy? And then if it continues, then do a thing. Then
I mean, killing Dad would create a power vacuum. Like, there are good reasons not to do it, but also,
but would it? Especially now that the Savior's.
I don't know, like because we don't know. We don't know politically how any of this works. But the other thing is, like, why jump to killing them first, ask questions later? Because half the time she's mid-kill and they're giving her useful information and they're like, I'll switch to your side. And she's like, but she never uses any of her leverage as the savior to, like, gain any allies.
Except for, you know, like with Romulus. That's the only time.
And it's like, why not? Why not do anything else?
She knows like a lot of hidden places in the extended grounds of what is it? What's it referred to? The forge,
the fortress,
fortress. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
She knows a lot of hidden places that even her dad probably doesn't know about.
Yeah.
Why doesn't she just like zap them over there and be like, "You're a prisoner now. Have fun. I'll see you tomorrow with food and torture if you don't give me information. Bye."
There are a million other interesting things she could have done other than making her a slasher villain. Because, by the way, she's a slasher villain because she teleports and she just like
except for when
over this.
Yeah, she's really good at teleporting until the plot needs her to not think about teleporting as an option. And then she doesn't teleport.
But the other thing is that, like, so in Prince of Thorns, Jorg is a bad dude. And everybody treats it. But part of why he's likable is that the text does not expect you to forget or accept that he is a shitty person. Because the characters are terrified of him / think he's a shitty person. The only person who's mildly sympathetic... Yeah, the only person who's mildly sympathetic to him is a guy who's known him since he was like 4. And so the text, again, doesn't treat you like you're an idiot and doesn't expect you to be okay with what he does. Whereas this is like, yeah, she's a ruthless killer and everybody's cool with it. And it's like, we're just not going to address this?
Yeah.
Like you can't introduce this and then be like, it's fine. It's not fine. Like, you know, you have to have characters react to what your characters are doing. Also, nobody ever investigates these murders. This goes nowhere. Anyway, so now it's her birthday.
I think because I don't find the bodies.
What?
Because all the senators are referred to as missing.
Oh,
they don't find the bodies.
Well, we're not
Delphi hides them. Delphi hides them, I guess.
It's never confirmed, so we don't know.
We're an hour in and up to chapter 2. We need to speed this up.
Yeah. All right, so it's her birthday. We walk in on the Asher in costume of boinking. Cosima summoned her maybe, but Layla's mad. But she didn't say I didn't want him. We're supposed to assume Cosima knew better, but we don't spend enough time with Cosima to know one way or another. Also, like, we don't see how or when Layla was summoned, so this is set up poorly and left up to interpretation. Because in these times, you could be summoned like hours before, and you know, like, it's a big palace. Maybe we don't know. It could be like 2 feet. It could be like the size of my apartment. We have no idea. But so a summoning could take a while. You know, like, we don't know. But Cosima's bad. That's supposed to show Cosima's bad. Can we kill Dad, Delphi? And no, Delphi's going to be part of the tournament to be a spy. And then Layla decides she needs to be down there because they're assassins. And please don't give me any more characters. I don't care. And I'm not writing them down. It doesn't matter. The idea, and then she's in a bath, and then someone says something about someone playing the savior, and then this doesn't even, like, so Layla doesn't even have the idea to have Cosima play the savior. But also, I thought Cosima playing the savior was her dad's idea. Like,
well, wait, no, we weren't. That was one of the big questions. That was a big part of why I actually really wanted to read this book. So I wanted to be like, how did this happen?
Okay, yeah.
Now we know how it happened.
But it's a stupid plan because, like, literally, like, Delphi's like, how is your dad not going to find out? And Layla is just straight up is like, well, he won't. And that's just it. And then...
Yeah, like, like I see how he wouldn't have found out for the first half of the tournament. But then as we soon discovered, once it moved above ground, shit quickly unraveled. Spoiler alert.
Dumbest plan in history. So then someone said, "Blessed be, bitch," and then didn't say bitch, but whatever. And then the scene is kind of meaningless because like nothing really happens. People are giving her gifts, and then she finally has the idea. It takes her way too long to have the idea to have Cosima play her, and it's not even her idea. It makes her look stupid. Layla likes the painting of her mom from Toby's mentor or whatever. It doesn't matter. And then
we find
Delphi. Sorry.
We found out that Tobias painted most of that painting as well later.
Delphi, for some reason, doesn't have an opinion on anything that's different from Layla. She's just cool with murder. Like, Delphi, she doesn't have her own opinion. She's cool with all this. And then we kill Simon. Whenever. Anyway, okay, so then her dad didn't give her a gift, and then Asher's her gift later, and he's a golden retriever. We stand. Okay. So we don't see her kill Simon, so it's not immediately clear that she's killed him, but then we kind of get confirmation that we killed Simon. So then Layla's mean to Asher for no reason. She's just being a dick. Layla's a dick to everybody. Also, like, Jenna doesn't use Asher at all other than to just be a punching bag for Layla. Whereas, like, Layla could have used Asher in a useful way, but she just doesn't. And I just have in all caps, how will Brontes not know? This is a terrible plan. This is a horrible plan. Why is everyone a dumb fuck? Another meeting because we've murdered someone. I'm assuming someone's trying to figure out who's doing this. Layla, you're talking too much. Everything she says sounds sus. Romulus also makes himself sound suspicious as fuck because the guy who's going to be the proctor just died. And then literally Romulus is like, well, why didn't I be proctor? We just talked about this. Like, that would be a great idea. And then the guy who was proctor was saying,
I wanted to be proctor. Yeah, it's like I wanted to be proctor. You said no, and now the guy who was going to be proctor instead of me is dead. So may I please be proctor now?
And then Layla's literally being a loudmouth. She's just like, oh my god, it's so sad that people are mad. And it's like, Layla, shut the fuck up. You obvious bitch. Like, shut up. But anyway, Brontes, because he's an idiot, because everybody's an idiot, doesn't notice this. And then they talk about how much money they're going to give everybody, and then there's inflation, whatever. And then so then Layla and Brontes, like, they talk alone, and also don't forget Layla means darkness, Toby means goodness, and then Brontes beats Layla up.
Yeah.
Because of course he does. And then we're into the commencement. Okay, chapter 4. I don't know where we are or anything looks like this, but that's fine. So we want the records of the competitors, and then we get all the records, and this is the dumbest thing in history. So she immediately assumes that all the assassins are going to be the beasts for no reason. There's like, why wouldn't it be an artist? I don't know. Could be. But of course, the only records missing are 3 of the beast ones.
Yeah,
because they weren't in the pool.
I don't know if we talked about this during Saviour's Champion, but okay, so her birthday was one day, the pool was the next day, and the tournament starts the next day. But it's not only is it people from across the kingdom.
Well, the kingdom is a mile wide. That's clearly the explanation.
Yeah, but there's also international peeps. So we're like, the international peeps, like, okay, birthday's coming up, let's catch a boat. Or were they all there ready and waiting? Like, how did it happen so quickly? Because also, we don't have cars and planes here. So if anyone had to travel any sort of distance, like, how also were these villages confirming with each other, like, how were they able to communicate? Hey, I have a good candidate over in this village. Well, I have one over here, and the two of them need to paperwork version of like battle it out and be like, no, this one looks better on paper. No, this one looks better on paper. How do they work it out?
Doesn't matter because Toby's the only one that matters. Anyway,
there are only 3 villages. There are only 3 villages, and they're all right next to each other.
I don't know. You're right. You are right. I agree. Because yes,
but it's big enough for there to be noblemen. The country is big enough for noblemen, which implies multiple days travel. And also, the span of the country.
What is this political system? You have noblemen, you have a senate. Like, what does everybody do? I'm so confused. So, anyway, another thing we don't get to see, which is dumb, is Cosima get convinced to play the savior. We don't get to see that conversation. We don't get to see any kind of anything between Cosima and Layla. It's silly, but anyway, she's considered. She just is like, okay, and then what with the peach, and then is what I said, and then there's no sense of time. Wimbledon gives us a brief events of the tourney. Layla, a murderer, is shocked by murder.
It's barbaric. And stabbing a guy in the throat isn't barbaric while he's just trying to have a nice casual jack off. It's rude. At least let him finish.
It's so funny how mad she is at all the murder. Like, it's hilarious to me. She's so upset about it. It's freaking comical. Like, at least Kaleo's murdering made sense because you're supposed to win the tournament and, like, you're allowed to do it. You don't get in trouble for it. Like, but she's just so mad about it. And it's just so funny. So, anyway. And then I said Pip is more like a dog than a person. That's how she's kind of treated in this book. And then I said, so then Layla's going to go down to the thing because she wants to figure out who murdered, because she's really angry about it. And she also wants to figure out who the assassins are. And then, sorry.
And she's like, yes, Pippa, you can come.
Yes.
So clearly she doesn't give a single fuck about Pippa's safety or well-being or her plan, because, like, okay, yes, granted, Pippa doesn't give away the plan, but how?
I don't know.
Because it doesn't even seem like Pippa knows about the plan. So why would you entrust the success of your plan to Pippa?
I don't know.
It just feels risky.
So Pippa went, I believe that she said that Pippa went to, like, the first murder, but Pippa doesn't know what blood is. Pippa's like, is that red paint? And she's like, yeah. And so whatever. Layla gets down to the thing and she's horny as fuck. And then Layla's healing a guy. Also, she brings, like, essential oils to this. Anyway, so she's rubbing essential oils into open wounds, which would hurt like a bitch.
Which, though, we know, though, that, like, it's not a secret that the Savior can bestow her gifts upon people. So, like, I don't know why it might have been just to provide some distance, but it would have been clear. It would have been better if that had been clearer.
Yeah.
To prevent any potential association. But she could have just been like, oh, yeah, the Savior gifted me with my heels. Instead, she had to be like, no, I have tonics that smell like citrus perfume. And I just rub them on you, and then the next day you have 0 aches and pains.
And then the guy that she heals first has Seth's accent from Covenant, and it hurts me. So the intellect is nice to her, so she gives him cards. She's still super upset about murder. And then Brontes chose the assassins to bless. Like, it's so obvious. And it's like, what the fuck? And then we're supposed to be mad at the physician because he's mansplaining to Layla, but she's not a doctor. And he's like, what are you doing? Quit rubbing essential oils on them like a Karen. Like, please stop it. And Layla's like, I'm a healer. Get off my deck. And he's like, please stop this. And whatever.
Yeah, like, I mean, like she tries to make him sound like a dick, but, like, again, as far as he's concerned, she's rubbing perfume on people.
If a doctor saw somebody rubbing an essential oil into an open wound, of course they would freak out. The question is, why doesn't the doctor do more to stop this nonsense? What would have made more sense is if she had been like, "Oh, I'm one of the Savior's sisters. The Savior bestowed me with the gift of healing," and then the doctor would have been like, "Oh,
or she blessed the tonics. She gave the tonics her blessing.
Yeah, like something like
Just something.
That would have been so simple. But no, we have to have a mansplainer like 1 hour. So, and then we have the men being crass and Jenna not knowing how men talk because she's apparently never spoken to a man before, even though she's like engaged or whatever. And then
she also doesn't know how women speak either. Like I said, she's an equal opportunity dum-dum. Okay, I would like, could you imagine like having girl talk with Jenna? Like, so did you get any cock last night? Hey, apologies if that's rude.
So then she heals Toby. She sees like cuts on his hand from like a fight, and she's like, "How dare you do a murder?" And then Toby's like, "My best friend died today," and I was like, "We all know that Toby doesn't care that Milo died." So, and then she was like, "You know what? I should have known that an artist couldn't have been a murderer." And I was like, "Look, if the golden savior child could brutally murder, an artist can do it too." Like, that's a dumb assumption, but anyway. So then after that, there's another meeting. People are missing. So are the records. Who the fuck is Erebus? Whatever. What is the keeper of the vault? His ebony skin was polished every other day was the question I had. What does that mean? Like, okay. You ever seen what they use to polish cars? It's very violent, but all right. So we're going underneath the floor to a dungeon. And also, like, we don't know how much time has passed since everybody left, but like, this is not very discreet of her. And then she's like, the dungeon was destroyed a long time ago. And I was like, nobody would destroy a dungeon. It would be the foundation of the castle. It would be stupid. But anyways, then there's Dungeon Daddy. I think this is the first person that Layla's actually been nice to. And then there's somebody named Dickus, biggest Dickus, whatever. And then Dungeon Daddy loved her mom. Layla likes art. Anyway, we're mad at Cosima because she doesn't want to be involved in a murder plot. But also, like, we never really, we address it later. But Layla is not at all grateful to Cosima for basically taking the L and being the savior that the assassins are going to target. But yeah. And then, but now that we've met Toby, don't worry, the assassin plot's gone. So Cosima is asking questions because she's about to make her first appearance as a savior that I assume would be things she already knew about the savior's powers if they were sisters or whatever and they used to be close like the book implies. But Layla's still mad. And I don't understand why, because Cosima is just like, I don't want to give myself away, you know? And Layla's like, how fucking dare you? Okay. Cosima's really good at playing the savior. Layla's super fucking grumpy about it. And then later on, Delphi's just a douche. They're just douches about it.
She's like, what do I say if people ask me about my light? And she's like, no one's going to ask you about your light. And she's like, but what if they do? And she's like, okay, well, you say this. And then first question is, what about your light? And then she's like, oh, thank you. Here is my previously prepared answer, and gives it. And then Layla's she's like, that was really eloquent. Too bad they were my words and not hers.
Which was the point, Layla. Anyway, and then, like I said, Layla and Delphi are just douches about it, as if Cosima is not literally putting a target on her back and doing exactly what you guys asked her to do. I don't understand.
I mean, I think she's coming at this from the perspective of knowing that the reader already knows that Cosima, like, switches sides.
But Layla doesn't know that at this point.
No. And Cosima doesn't know that at this point. She doesn't know it.
Right now,
she's just basking in she's right now just basking and being like, all these hot men want to fuck me.
Which, like, good for her. And like, she's just, Cosima is like, for most of this book is just a fucking bro and everybody's mean to her. Why wouldn't you switch sides? It's like Zoe being mad at Aphrodite for not liking them. I'm like, y'all are meaner to Aphrodite than she is to you. Why wouldn't she not like you? Like, what the fuck? So
Aphrodite is us. Cosima is not us, so I don't feel. She's not us. She's fine, but she's not us.
My next note for chapter 7 is, oh my god, Layla, be nice to Asher. He didn't do anything to you. There's a gift somewhere, and it's a ring, and then there's a note in it that's like a secret message or whatever. It's how we've been communicating, and then we're just gonna murder another person.
Yep, to get his rings.
So, and then we have this epic sword fight with a senator who's so much bigger than her, and then she's so tiny, but she doesn't lost. Oh, okay.
And Daddy Dungeon trained her. The Dungeon Daddy trained her. How
you cannot emphasize how tiny somebody is and then have them physically overpower.
I mean, it would be different if she had her like doing her poofy poof through the battle, but she never poofy poofs in a battle.
No.
And I don't know why. I mean, she's planning on killing the guy, so it doesn't matter if he finds out that she can poof, because people don't know she can poof yet. Only her sisters know.
Yeah, but one thing that people do, or one thing that this guy does is say, you know, like when Layla's about to kill him, he's like, "You're a murderer, by the way. Like, this is bad." And Layla's like, "How dare you?
I only kill because I want to."
And then she's saving Tobias from the poison thing, and now Kaleo's like the dumbest assassin ever because he's being so fucking obvious about it. And Kaleo's also just being really crude and disgusting because, of course, he is. And then Layla's like, "Wow, he was really mean. Like the guy she murdered, he was really mean to me." And then Jenna just has Layla repeat, "You're a murderer," kind of like in The Cruel Prince, "Oh no, kill out," like that. Because to give Layla depth, but like, duh. And now, like, this is bro number 3. Is she so stupid that she didn't think that she was already a murderer? Like, she was really cold about the first one, but now she's like, "Oh my god, have I been like killing people? Like, that's like, is that like bad?"
Well, like, this is also like, there's like been like about like what, like 4 or 5 of them that are senators that have gone right. Missing.
It's implied when we
she
killed the first one that this is it's implied in the first one that this is not the first person she's killed. So she's killed like 7 people, and like on number 7 she's like, "Have I been killing people?"
Yeah, because in the Senate meeting as well, she's like, "Wow, there's far fewer senators than I was expecting, Daddy." And he's like, well, several have gone missing, daughter. You know, so she's killed at least a half a dozen peeps at this point, at least, if not more. Who knows how long she's been killing people?
So the physician's mad at her again. This doesn't change. Anyway. And then we're talking to Toby, and "What do your names mean? Let's drive it into the ground." And then his sister is alive from the waist up, he says. Wow, really harsh. And then Toby and Layla is being gross, but we're just ignoring the fact that Layla's a slasher villain. Doesn't matter. And then Layla is so angry that the Laurels are dehumanizing, but she's a slasher villain. I don't buy it. And then Toby, "If you're upset about frogs, wait till you find out about your girlfriend." Because Toby's like, "They were beheaded frogs. It was really sad." I'm like, "Yeah, wait, just wait." So
how I took that, like in the Savior's Champion, was like he was just trying to lighten the mood, because like shit was getting deep. He's like, "You should have seen it. It was terrifying. What? All those frogs beheaded everywhere. It was a bloodbath, you know." And then you go, "Lol, funny," you know. But yeah, she like even like later on in this book, she's like, "He was upset about the frogs. I should have known he was doomed." I'm like, I don't think he actually was upset about the frogs. I think you're reading too much into it. I think he was just making a joke. I honestly think I thought he was making a joke.
Yeah, but you know, okay.
Girl brain. He's so sensitive. No, he's sarcastic.
So then we're into chapter 8. There's no mystery. It's chapter 8. We know everything. We know who the assassins are. Like it, but it's chapter 8. And then I think it's implied that Pippa got like sexually assaulted when she went down there alone, but we kind of don't know. And then Layla's stitching someone up, and she's squeamish about stitches for some fucking reason. And then I said, these are the most obvious assassins ever. Are we gonna pretend like essential oils in a wound wouldn't hurt like a bitch?
Well, also because it's not even essential oils. It's literally Casima's perfume.
Which, ow.
Like, So yes, it would hurt because there's shit in perfume that is not pleasant. Even in this created time period. How would you explain it? It's not actually a real time period, but it's related to an existing time period, and that time period, even the perfume sort of hurt. Sorry.
So the most human moment we get with Layla is the card game, but that's kind of it. It's like the most human she ever acts.
Did you find Tobias even more boring in this than he was in his own book?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I buy the love story even less in this one.
Well, the other thing is that because you have all this political intrigue, it makes Tobias
boring.
Useless, I'm gonna say, because he's a peasant farmer, and so it's like, what does he have to do with anything?
Like in Savior's Champion, right? You could see why he would have a thing for her. You know, they have some bands. She's very attractive, and she doesn't take shit. And like, you know, you can kind of see why, like, you know, how he could develop the feels for her. I've yet to see a reason why she's got the feels for him from her perspective.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a point where he gets his hand crushed to just spend time with her, but that he only did that because she already had the feels, though.
But also, that was the dumbest thing ever.
I know, but there's something about a man destroying his own hand just to spend time with you.
And then
you gotta throw him a bone with that one.
And then after, there's just more stuff, and then Toby's upset about Milo again, but like he doesn't care anyway. So then I said, what came first, their hatred of Cosima or Cosima's hatred of them? Like, we don't know. So then we're into the art challenge. Gross, who cares? And then they do some vommy cute stuff, which is whatever. And then Toby like loses the art challenge, and it's like a thing. Because he doesn't have anything, because he could only draw Layla and whatever. And then now he has to do a fight, so now we're helping Toby fight. And then there's another Senate meeting, and then it's like Wimbledon is going to be a thing, and the Savior has to be in the box. We're going to put Cosima in the box, but then Wimbledon's going to know, so we have to kill Wimbledon. And I'm like, is that really the only solution? And then
apparently not.
And then Jenna has a spark of inspiration and realizes that one night of training is not enough to help Tobias. And so we bless Tobias. And then Cosima speaks, which is at the arena at the fight. She speaks, which is the bad. The fight seems actually pretty dope. I wish the whole book was like that.
Yeah, like the plan was for Cosima to just walk out there in her cloak, like head kind of tilted down in the hopes that Wimbledon wouldn't turn around and be like, you're not Layla.
Yeah.
But instead she's like, here's my bright red hair, everyone. Hi, champions. I'm sorry that one of you is going to die. I love you both. Cheers. And Wimbledon's like, what are you doing here? And she's like, shut up, Wimbledon. Okay, I'm doing a thing. And, you know, like, so she announces to the kingdom, not just to Wimbledon, to the kingdom, but not the sovereign, because he's not there. And no one tells him. Not a single person mentions this, and luckily none of the servants get to go. Not a single servant is allowed to go. This is all very convenient.
Indeed. So
sorry.
So then, yeah, the fight scene was really cool, and it was good. She's good at writing fights.
Jenna's good at writing fights.
My next note was, oh, have we figured out that stealing dad's people might. Oh, okay. Because she's like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't kill Wimbledon, and we bring him to our side. So, and it's like, oh, really? But she's like, but I'll kill you later. She's a dick to him. And I'm like, you're not inspiring him to follow you. But, and so then there's a poetry contest. Slam poetry, cool. And then Toby wins because he's looking at Layla the whole time, and Cosima's like, wow, I've never feeling so seen. She acts like an idiot, but whatever. So then he gets to spend time with Cosima.
And thank goodness that Toby was looking at Leela and talking to her that whole time, because that was the one time that Daddy came down. And he was like, let's watch this one. And luckily, it was the one where it doesn't have, like, he didn't even like chuck in a like half-hearted Kasima at the end.
Yeah.
But like everything, like the only reason why Leela's plan has not been discovered yet by her dad is just like all of the planets have aligned at this point.
Yeah. So then Layla kills somebody else. Whatever. Then hi Toby, Layla, and then Toby's like hi. Layla's like go the fuck away. Toby then does the card tournament because Layla made that so that he would win again, and then his fingers get broken so that they can spend time together. And then also we're just never talking about the plot again. And so then they make out, and then Kasima after that is just kind of acting like a bro, and then we're at the Senate again, and don't worry about it. And then we're swimming, and then we're keys counting, and then at the end of that, Raphael's injured, and Layla's like, "Let me help him," and then Wimbledon's like, and Romulus are like, "No," and then she's like, "Kasima," and she's like, "No, I won't lower the wall." And then there's a ruse, so she can't teleport. And then, but then it's over, and they've announced the winner, and they counted the keys, so now she can go help him. And then Raphael's like, "Oh fuck, you're the savior," and she's like, "Well, now I have to kill you." She doesn't. But like her first instinct is, I have to murder you, and it's like, why?
Like, I understand if like she's been having to kill people as a matter of immediate necessity for like a decade at this point, but she hasn't. Immediate necessity is like, it's fine to kill someone like out of it. Like, it would be fine for her to kill people out of immediate necessity, I believe, in this book. But she doesn't. She's just like, you know what's easier than, you know, because like even that first guy, he's like, "I'll be your bro. I promise I'll be your bro." And she's like, "No, stab."
You could have used a bro. But anyway, so then Raphael doesn't even, by the way, he does not threaten to expose her. That doesn't happen. He just says, "Hey, I don't want to expose you, man. Can I just have out? Can you just like release me so I can go? Like, I don't want to marry you. I don't want to expose you. You the savior. Dope. Thanks for saving me.
I just want to go home.
I'd like to go home." And then she's like, and it's like, and he's like, no.
She's like, "I promise I'll."
And she's like,
then she's like,
and then she's like threatening him, and she's like, "Swear to me on your life that you will not expose me, and then maybe I will let you go." And he's like, "Yeah, dude, chill. Like, the fuck? What did he?
I just don't want to die."
He's like, "I just want to live." And she's like, "But you threatened me." And he doesn't even have the balls, because, you know, Jenna would never, to be like, "I didn't do shit. I requested politely to leave." Like, what? Whatever. And so then she's making out with Toby, and then Enzo walks in, and she now wants to murder Enzo. But Enzo literally just went, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna stand guard, so y'all can continue making out."
I mean, in her defense, she doesn't know that the day before, Tobias had walked in on him going down on Xander, or Xander going down on him. I can't remember who was doing the sucky suck, but so from like Enzo's perspective, it's like, "Hey, look, Tobias is keeping my secret. I'll keep his." Like, because she knows that him and Xander are doing the fucky fuck. Tobias knows that him and Xander are doing the fucky fuck. The two of them don't know that each other knows that they're doing the fucky fuck.
Yeah. But
because he walked in on it, she can see in the auras.
Her first instinct is still to murder him. And
I know, poor Enzo.
And then Toby's like, nah, dude, it's cool. And he's a bro. And she's like, I didn't believe he's a bro. And Toby's like, dude, he's a fucking bro. It's okay.
But even in her head, she's like, I think he could be a bro, but I still need to kill him.
So now we can release someone. And of course, Enzo, the maybe bro, maybe not bro.
Oh, because Xander's dead. I think this happened before all this. One of the guys was like, I think it was Neil or something, was like being like, "Hey, healer, want to suck on this bone?" And she's like, "No, thank you." It was like, "I think you want to suck on my bone," and she's like, "No," and then she just pushes him into a big hole, and she's like, and everyone's just looking at her like, "Did you just kill him?" And she's like, "He wasn't gonna win," and walks off. And then, prior to the release thing, behind the scenes, Caesar kills Xander, who Enzo has been doing the horizontal tango with, and everyone's mad because Xander was a sweetie. And she's like, "Oh, look, I dropped my knife. What a shame." And then she casually walks away.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes time to release people, she's like, "I think Enzo could be a spy," because she has reason to believe that maybe someone in his kingdom is the issue with the politics. And she's like, "I think Enzo could be a spy." And I'm like, I was actually a little bit nervous when she started going down this route. Because I'm like, I thought she was being nice and just because I'm like, she knew. I'm like, because in Savior's Champion, I'm like, she must have known that Enzo and Xander were a thing, and she let him go because he was heartbroken. And then it was like, leading us to believe that she was just going to be like, "I don't trust you, so you need to leave." But then that wasn't it.
Yeah.
So I was actually relieved with how this bit went down.
Yeah. But again,
I'm glad she was a person.
But now that you've added in that she's a slasher villain, a lot of the things with her character are just so at odds.
Yeah.
And it's strange. So then anyway, so she releases Enzo, and then
they have a chatty chat first, though.
They do have a chatty chat first, and it's actually a good chatty chat. But again, it would be fine if she wasn't a slasher villain, but she is. So,
it occurred to me that he might be how the Queen knows that she's the savior.
Well, yeah, I think that's why.
Yeah, I think that it didn't occur to me prior. It just clicked then what that it's like, that's how the Queen knew.
Mm-hmm. So then, and he was like, "I'm just here to observe and report," and it's a good conversation. So then she releases him. So now we're doing a challenge where the champions or the competitors are all going to get into the castle, and then she gets to Toby. She finds some shit out. She gets to Toby, and she's like, "Hey, don't look at the statues."
Oh, yeah, because what stops Asher from being her daddy's golden retriever to her golden retriever is daddy and a bunch of guards. I don't know how all of the guards in the castle and everyone are just like, yeah, this is fine. And Asher's the only one that's a bit like, what the fuck? They break into her bedroom in the middle of the night, hold her down and stab her and take her blood.
Yeah.
And all the guards are like, yeah, this is normal. This is a normal way to collect the savior's blood. Because apparently they need to rub it on some statues for the next challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, she wants Toby to not look at the statues.
Yeah. And so then everything's fine.
Except for Bo.
Except for Bo. Whatever. But everything's fine. So then we're in the palace. Toby's in the palace. Everybody's in the palace, but nobody finds out right now anyway. And so then we're dancing. We're doing a dancing thing with Raphael. And Raphael is like, "Hey, what happened?"
Oh, and out. Yeah.
And Layla's like, "I'll let you out, you fucking dick, but stop trying to expose me, you piece of shit." And Raphael's like, "Dude, you made me a promise," and I'm just like a little kind of hurt.
Because I could die.
And he's like, "I don't want to die, and I don't want to marry you. So can I leave now?" And she's just being a bitch. Then we dance with Toby, whatever, and then we go talk to Romulus. And then Asher's like, "Hey,
I love you."
He's like, "I love." We know this later because right now he's like, you go sneak out with the artist, right? And then Layla's a complete bitch to him instead of actually recruiting him as an ally, but whatever. And then she just gets sexually assaulted and some jewelry stolen just for reasons. So
this is a reasonable murder.
Yeah. Okay. My notes are incoherent at this point, so I'm gonna need you to help.
Yeah. So the thing was, she was like, this guy was taking over the role of someone else that I killed. So obviously, I need to follow him to find out what he's doing. So then she's following him all day. Apparently, she's not discreet. And then, because apparently, like, he's quite young for a senator, he's quite attractive. And so then he just goes to a room and he's like, "Oh, you'll follow me around all day. I thought this is where you wanted to end up." And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, but really, like, all this?" She's like, "No." And he's like, "But let's do it anyway." And she's like, "No." And he's like, "But let's." And she's like, "No." And he's like, "Let's." And then he tries to do a rapey rape, and then she does a stabby stab.
Yeah.
And yes, and then this is one murder where I'm just like, is it murder? No, it's not actually a murder. It's a homicide, but it's not a murder.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm fine with this one.
So stop. So then we find out that her dad wants to kill Toby.
Was he just flashing you or something?
No, he was. So we find out that her dad wants to kill Toby because, of course, he does. And then her dad has like some guy killed.
Oh.
And then Layla is mad at her dad for like cutting off ears or something. I don't know what's happening.
No shit. No. Tobias cut off an ear from someone who was trying to do a strangle.
Oh, okay.
She's earless?
No, sorry. Layla, the slasher villain, did a thing.
I thought you said she was mad at her dad for cutting off her ear.
Oh, I know she cut off someone else's ears.
Okay, that's still weird.
Yeah.
One ear. It was a singular ear.
It was one ear.
It was a self-defense ear.
It
was a self-defense ear cut.
A self-defense ear cut?
No.
Okay. Help.
So
my notes are not helping me
If
anymore.
someone is trying to strangle you and you have a knife in your hand,
Has he been out recently?
would he not approve of you cutting off their ear to stop
If someone was
strangling?
if someone was strangling me and I had a knife in my hand, would you approve of me cutting off their ear?
That'd be a dumb thing to go for.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm pretty sure Tobias cut off the ear. Didn't Tobias cut off the ear?
Well, if Tobias cut off the ear, then that's even dumber because he would have a much better angle on literally everything.
Let me find the ear. Okay, let me find the ear. I'm gonna find when the ear gets cut off. Okay, I'm in the wrong.
If you can access.
Okay.
You can also access that.
Quiet puppy.
Sorry, it's not Jinx. It's actually Carbine. Carby, come here. Carby, come here, baby. Come here. Will you pick him up and hand him to me? Hold on.
Okay, let's find this ear. Okay, I see what happened. Oh, wait till she comes back before I say what happened.
This is Carbine.
There he is, Hop Pop.
Yeah. You're the one making all the noise because Dad got up. So we're excited. Jinx is at my parents' house.
So, yeah. So he was doing a strangle. And wait. No, I think the strangle thing had already happened. Wait. Yeah, so he's there to do a strangle. And then Tobias is like, no! Because he like walks in and he's like, no! Because he's doing it like in a public room. And he swung at Drake once, twice. The dragon wove between his assaults and latched onto Tobias's throat. Tobias launched his knee into Drake's gut, breaking his hold. He slid to the floor, picking up something from the strewn glass, Leela's blade, and with one quick blast, he swung the knife at the dragon, slicing the assassin's ear from his temple. So, the appropriate question to ask him is, if he walked in on a giant man strangling you, would he then say, no, punch, knee, ear slice?
Noah, if you walked in on a giant man strangling me, would you go, no, punch, knee
to
the gut,
knee to the gut, ear slash?
Or is he like on top of you on the ground?
Is he on top of me on the ground?
Or
the dragon wove between his assaults and then latched onto. The guy has latched onto your throat. I don't know if it's with his teeth or with his hand.
I don't know where I am, but he's now off of me. You have punched. He's latched.
I'm assuming we're not in our apartment and I don't have a gun.
Right. So he's.
But there is your knife on the ground.
Your knife is on the ground. He's latched onto your throat with something, hand or teeth. We don't know. And punch, knee, ear slash.
No,
punch, latch.
Okay, you punch, he latches, ear, like hand or teeth, we don't know. Knee to the gut, ear slash.
Never ear slash. Ear slash wouldn't even enter into the equation. There's always something better.
However,
you can the ear and just go into his head.
However,
that's your verdict.
If you're being strangled, you probably just go on like
because if you're being strangled, it wouldn't be easier to.
No, because an ear is to slice an ear off. You have to hold it with one hand and cut it with the other.
Right.
No, he just it's just a.
Right.
He just did a.
So just if you're gonna do something to his ear,
he karate chopped with the knife.
Did you hear him?
Yes, in his defense, I don't know if he was intending to cut the ear off or if he was just slashing the knife.
Whatever. Anyway.
In Tobias' defense, though, Drake screamed and then his ear fell to the floor with a piteous splat.
In no universe.
And later on in the future battle, right? Like when he actually does end up killing Drake, because his ear gets sewn back on, right? Tobias grabs his ear and rips it back off.
That makes sense. Okay.
Okay.
Wait. You got one other thing to ask him now. Add the context of you will have to hand-to-hand combat this guy later, and you can rip his ear back off. Because it's been sewn back on. Because Tobias does that.
Noah, you will have to hand combat this guy later, and his ear's now been sewn back on during this next battle, and you can rip his ear off again.
If I was...
Carmine, it is cold.
If I temporarily had my brain removed and so sliced his ear off in the fight, if for some reason that happened, and I encountered him and his ear was stitched back on, yeah, I'd rip it off.
Okay.
So he agrees with... So I imagine he agrees with the punch, knee to the gut.
Because even like if he's lashed onto your neck with his teeth, like let's say he's here, you can still like get him like in the side or in the back of the neck or
in the ear.
I
felt like it.
I do appreciate.
No, not slice it off, or even just up into his gut.
You know what? Can you just pass on
Ear slice,
something
there's no
to
situation
Noah
where ear
for me?
slice makes sense for self-defense. Now, for punishment of the prisoner, we could talk.
Okay, all right. What?
I do appreciate that he does get really into the hypothetical answers to the hypothetical questions.
Yeah, me
Stixie will
too.
not. He refuses. He usually just
I do
tells me
too.
to shut up.
We appreciate your enthusiastic participation.
You're welcome.
Okay, so is that where we're up to? Yes, that's where we're up to, because that's how we got onto this conversation.
Yes.
Yes. So ear slashing is not an appropriate self-defense mechanism.
No, it is not.
Established.
No ear slashing. Warby. Sorry.
And
Harvey,
then
Harvey, no.
So this is
the blinds. We don't own the blinds. Don't eat them.
So this is a situation, right, where people already know that the savior can do a poofy poof now because she allowed Tobias to poof.
Yes.
And Drake clearly knows she's the freaking savior because he tried to do a killy kill, and yet she didn't poof. So when shit's actually real, she never poofs.
Stage fright?
I don't know, because she instinctually poofs in other situations.
Also, Seth will be back Sunday.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's established that if someone's holding on to you or touching you, they poof with you. But that would disorientate him enough to be like, we're now in the garden. How did we get to the garden? He would probably temporarily lose his hold, and then she could poof again.
Mm-hmm.
Or she could just poof to, like, the top of, like, a tower and be like, and when he's disorientated, she could just go, whoosh, and then, like, he would fall, and then she could just poof away. Like...
Which makes her a great slasher villain.
Well, but again, it also would have been a justifiable kill. If she'd killed Drake, would we be like, that was rude? No, we wouldn't have been, that was rude.
Yeah.
But yeah, now she's like, I thought I was stronger than this, but someone who is bigger and stronger than me overpowered me, and I don't understand how.
I'm sorry, Layla. This entire book, all we've been told is how tiny you are, and Drake is supposed to, Drake, I think, is
Drake's
supposed
the dragon.
to be. It's supposed to be like this giant person.
Oh, also,
even more reason not to.
He has like.
You go for a immediate kill or incapacitated.
Well, wait. This guy also has like you can't kill me rune.
Okay.
Tattooed on. This guy also has a "you can't kill me" rune tattooed on his body. I'm assuming it must have been on his ear, because Tobias ends up killing him. But he has a "you can't kill me"
But he doesn't.
rune.
Does he know that?
Yes.
Does he know
like
that,
he's the one with all the tattoos.
Does he know where it is though? That you can't.
No, I think it's incidental. It must have been on his ear, because
If
Tobias
the "you can't kill me" rune is on his ear and Tobias doesn't know that, then it's still dumb.
No, I know it's still dumb. I wasn't using that as justification. I'm saying that must have been how Tobias.
I didn't know that. We didn't know that.
No, I'm assuming that's where it is, because Tobias kills him.
Bay is assuming that's where it is because Tobias, after he rips his ear off, is able to kill him. But Toby doesn't know that, and so we don't know that for sure.
Well, I guess we also don't know if the rune actually works, or if that's
we also don't know if the runes actually work. We have no idea. So,
but he has spelly stuff tattooed into him.
So that doesn't enter into the equation if it's not confirmed, and there's no world building. How am I? Yeah, I can't know anything if it's not in the text.
Unless it is like heavily implied to the point where, like, intentionally heavily implied.
Yes.
Like, for example, if there's a gay character and they're just like, hey, look, I don't play for your team, and it's never said, oh, you're gay. It's fine, because I don't play for your team is the implication that someone is gay.
Right, especially if they then
It's
go
fine.
make out with a guy. Like, you know, then
Yes.
yeah, we know it's heavily implied.
Oh, well.
But then Tobias is like, tell me your secrets. And she's like, I can't. You'll hate me.
Oh my God, Layla. Just, like, she just goes on and on. She just doesn't tell him until, like, she just
Until she tells him. Until she tells everyone.
It takes him so long. It takes her so long to tell him. Like, it's so stupid.
Oh, look. And he's so freaking thick because, okay, this is Saviour's champion, not Saviour's sister. But, like, Pippa is, like, comforting him after he does the, like, I have to hurt you to protect you. So he breaks up with her and then he's heartbroken and Pippa finds him. And she's like, it's okay. I'll just do what the Savior does to me. I just lay my head on her lap and she comforts me. I'll do it to you. So she puts Tobias's head on her lap and she just strokes his hair saying, it's okay, my little duckling. Who has called her my little duckling 50 times in that book? Oh, that's right, Layla. Like, Tobias is stupid.
Yeah, I know.
Also, Cosima touching him inappropriately and the way him and Layla make out immediately after are always very conveniently placed hands.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't like. It's very convenient. Like Cosima touched his chest, and Layla touched his chest, and now he's glowing on his chest now. And then Cosima tried to stick her hand down his pants. Layla tried to Layla actually did stick her hand down his pants, and he's got glow right down to his crotch. Like, they are very convenient. Like, maybe they really are soul sisters. They do the same shit to him. Just one's consensual. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
But okay. So yeah, what's next in your notes after ear?
After the ear, like, someone's calling like Layla a mad savior or something. And
because Ronchi's knows now that Cosima has been posing as her.
Yeah.
And he's just like, at first he's pissed, but then he's like, oh, excellent. Because everyone in the kingdom thinks that Cosima's the savior. So he's like, I'll kill Layla. And then don't even really have to kill Cosima because she's not the savior. And we'll just let her walk around with a pretty crown on her head and she'll be happy.
Which actually is a pretty good plan if he really wants the savior dead.
Yeah. Like, I can't believe he didn't think of that.
I know, right?
So, and Cosima's like avoiding Layla now and this and that. And she's like, I need to talk to you. I heard you were talking to my daddy in private. And she's like, oh, nothing. He was just saying, like, how's it going? And he gave me a stern talking to for being naughty. And she's like, that doesn't sound like my dad, but okay.
And then I also read, like, then, like, the servants are asking Layla if she likes the artist or whatever. And then Layla's like, no. And then at some point, I think it's another Senate meeting or whatever, Layla's like explaining how the savior works to people who should know how the savior works because she's like, you can't kill me, the land. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like,
what's your point?
The land. And they're like, yeah, the land. And it's like, what the fuck?
Yep.
And then there are like foreign dignitaries here, like the queen from Enzo's kingdom, and like she talks to her, and
she's like, I know who you are.
And then there's another fight to the death thing, and yeah, how's Toby gonna live? Oh, he was blessed somehow, and we don't know how.
Again.
And then Toby's not talking to us, and then Asher kisses her.
Yep.
And then after that, the servant kid, who doesn't really matter that much, like, is like, I'm in your room. And Layla's like, yeah, why are you in my room? And he's like, and then Layla goes, did my dad ask you to kill me? And he goes, yeah, and I felt bad to kill you. And Layla's like, you don't have to kill me. It's okay. You're really brave. And he goes, yeah, I'm throwing myself out the window now. And Layla goes, no, don't do that. It's fine. And then he's like, I don't know what to do. And Layla's like, be my friend. And I'm like, oh, wow, Layla, acquire allies. What a fucking concept. But why this one? Like, this one, really? Of all the allies, Layla.
So then she's like, do a stalky stalk. And he's like, okay, I'll go do a stalky stalk. And
yeah, look me in the eye and
does
tell
for
me
the
that's not
rest of the
exactly
book.
how that conversation goes.
So, yeah, because Tobias won the battle to the death thing by ripping off Drake's ear again. So there's 3 people left out. There is what's his name? Kaleo.
Claire, yeah.
Kaleo. There's Kaleo, the last assassin standing. There's Flynn.
Somehow.
I think it's like everyone's just like he's. I think like Clay's like, I'll fucking deal with you later, okay? Like I'll deal with you later, dude. It's fine. And Tobias, and so Tobias won the thing because he did the kill. So Kaleo and Flynn are spending the day with Cosima, and Tobias gets to spend the night with her, and she wants to do some dirty. And he's like, no. And so he, like, we don't see this. He just rocks up at Leela's room and he's like, I need to be with you. And she's like, I thought you were with Cosima. And he's like, she tried to fuck me, but I said no. And then they get naked but don't have sex.
Yeah.
Although it wasn't too clear in this. Like, I thought they did in this. And the only reason I knew that they didn't is because... Oh, are you okay, Pop? He's got, like, little hiccups in his dreams.
Carving
I thought he was dying for a
all
second
the time.
Silly puppies. Yeah, so then the next day she's about to tell him because she can't fuck him until she tells him who she really is, because to do that beforehand would be dishonest. And so she's about to say it, and then Delphi walks in and she's like, hey, that thing that we need to do for the political intrigue stuff, it's time, so we gotta go. And Layla's like, well, fuck, okay, Tobias, you stay here, okay, don't go to the thing today, because it's like the final thing today. She's like, don't do a thing. And he's like, okay, I won't do a thing. And she's like, okay, don't do a thing. And he's like, I won't. And she's like, Ash, I'll watch him, make sure he doesn't do a thing. And he's like, okay. But he's like sulky because like he's like, he loves her, and he just got to stand outside her door all night while she did foreplay with Tobias. So he's not happy.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, we got to go to Daddy's room. And she's like, so she poofs, and she's in his wardrobe, and she's like, what you watch? I'm watching. And then Cosima walks in, and she's like, you bitch. And she's like, oh, wait, no, that's not the traitor I'm looking for. But she's a traitor, but not the one I'm looking for. And then she watches them bang. I don't know why she didn't just poof out until like Cosima like walked back out and then poof back in. Because she's like, I can't leave. I have to stay here until the traitor comes. And apparently apparently them having sex. Like, I mean, yeah, I would be icked out. I would be betrayed. I would be icked out and betrayed. Mm-hmm. But she's like so sickened to the point where she's throwing up and heaving and stuff. I'm like, I don't feel it's like that dramatic.
You can leave. You can leave.
You can poof out and poof back in. But like, she was that sickened that she was like throwing up. I'm just like, well, why did you watch
Wouldn't that make noise too?
Well, he's left at this point.
Oh, okay.
He leaves. So then she throws
sorry.
up and then she runs out and then she's like, Delphi, they're fucking. And she's like, no. And she's like, yes, I need to go find Daddy now. So then she goes and finds Daddy and like poofs. And then the female traitor that they're looking for is Cecily. Who is Cecily, you ask? I'll tell you who Cecily is because I had to look it up too. She's the dressmaker.
Why wouldn't it just why wouldn't it just be Cosima like the whole time?
I don't know, but then we get to hear the backstory of how Cosima and Brontes were to be engaged, or they were engaged to be engaged, or they were engaged, and then he did the Sovereign's tournament. So she gave up a life of nobility to come and be a servant just to be with him, and he's going to make her queen. And she's like, and Leela's like, well, what about Cosima? And she's like, oh shoot, she's 20. She'll believe anything he tells her. And she's like, they fucked. And she's like, well, men will be men. And then she's like, she cuts off all her toes and then she runs away. And I can't remember what happens to Cecily. I don't know if she kills her or not. Did you find her? I just don't know if she kills her.
Yeah.
And then she goes back to Tobias and he's not there, but dead Asher is. And she's like, oh no. And Delphi's like, Tobias is doing the thing and it's not good. And she's like, no. And so she gets there and we don't get to witness Kaleo getting killed in this one. And I didn't get up to that part when I was redoing Savior's Champion because I was running out of time and it's towards the end of the book. So I can't remember how he dies.
I don't remember.
I think I'm gonna finish Savior's Champion just for my own sanity.
I don't remember either.
I've only got about half an hour, I think, of listening time to go. So might as well. But it's when Flynn's about to do it. And she's like, no, I order you to stop. And he's like, why the fuck would I listen to you? And Tobias is like, Layla, I love you. I don't care about anything. I just want to be with you. And Flynn's like, I'm going to kill you. And Layla's like, no. And she takes the cape off and starts glowing. And everyone's like, you're the savior. Who the fuck's this bitch? And she's like, she's an imposter. And Tobias faints and then she poofs him away. And then she's like, and then she heals him. They're in Delphi's room. Some of her servant friends are there, and she's like, I don't know if I can trust you. And they're like, you can trust us. And she's like, okay, I trust you. I think she can trust them.
Yeah, unclear.
And so then she heals Tobias, and then he's like, you're the savior. You betrayed me. And she's like, I didn't lie to you. I just didn't tell you the truth. There's a difference. And he's like, it's a lie. And then... And then she's like, but I had to do it to save my life. And he's like, tell me. And she's like, Daddy hates me, wants to kill me. He's like, that can't be true. And she's like, have you met my father? And he's like, well, actually, no, I buy your story. I love you. And she's like, I love you too. And Delphi's like, you two got to yeet. And he's like, okay, we shall yeet. And he's like, we need to rescue my family too. And good thing they went there first, because where did the soldiers first rock up? And so then she's like, they all poof and end the book.
Yep.
I like this. We're gonna have to read the third book because I do want to know what happens.
Yeah, so do I.
I need closure. I don't care how bad it is. I need closure. There's very few things that I hate so much that I can't finish.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, I don't hate this enough.
Like, but there are still issues with it. Like, you know, for example, with Cosima, I don't feel like we're ever going to get any kind of like nuance to what's happening with her, or
all we're going to get, look, if she doesn't get fucking killed, right? Because also, why are the guards still hunting them down? Like, they can't just kill the savior. They can't just kill the savior. The people will be like, but that's our savior, yo. Yeah. And everyone knows that that's the savior now. Like, she's blowing in villages now. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Unless like Ronji's has had like everyone that was in the arena and everyone in that village slaughtered to prevent word of spreading, like from spreading. I don't know.
I don't know either.
But
yeah, he might have done a hippodrome. I don't know.
We will like this is why we need to read the third book. Like
Yeah.
whenever it comes out, like in 5 years. Like we need to know.
It's true. It's true.
Like what was the time? What was the time frame of these two books? And like, because also with this book, right?
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, because a third of this book was already written. So like, I feel like we'll have to like add an additional like 50% onto the amount of time because like a third of this book was already written. Goodreads, save your sister. Okay, so it was 2 years.
I think it was like 2.5 years or so.
Yeah, first one was published 2018. This one was published 2020.
Yeah.
So in 3 years then? Because, yeah, a third of this book was already written.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should just add an extra year.
Yeah.
Which is rude. It's rude. I don't want to wait years, but I guess we will.
I mean, you know, one of the biggest issues with this book is just characters are so flat. Layla is hard to empathize with because
she was easier to empathize with even knowing she was like killing people in the first book.
Yeah.
Because we weren't in her head and weren't seeing just how callously she was killing these people.
Mm-hmm. Like, whereas now, you know, her being so angry is like ridiculous because she's, I don't know, it's everything's just so flat. The world building is confusing. It's, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, we find out like there was no like. It's just like implied, but we find out that she can control the weather when she's sad. Like when she's sad, it rains.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because like when after Two Eyes dumps her, right? It's raining outside. Delphi comes running in, and she's like, "How did you know I needed you?" And she goes, "Well, it's raining."
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, Jenna, you're not good at like. Okay. I don't like authors that over-explain things, but you do still need to like. Don't treat me like I'm stupid, but don't assume I'm in your head.
But especially in high fantasy books, where we're not in our world, we need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
We need to understand what's happening.
Yeah.
Because if we understand nothing, then, you know, it's like, what? Like, you know, we need to understand things.
Oh my
like,
God.
Yeah,
sorry. I'm just actually now having a look at some of the reviews on Goodreads because I have also noticed a trend on in her Goodreads reviews. The more recent high star ones have on average have 0 to 3 likes, whereas the low star reviews have like sometimes up to 40. But this one review though, if there's this one criticism that it feels like you wrote it. It's by Alexandria Russell. It's the review's been hidden because of spoilers, so you have to click on the thing. But like, you know, thing number 2 that she doesn't like. Every scene of, I swear she is you in this paragraph. Every scene of this book could be summed up as Leela kills someone, her life is hard, sad face. Every single scene. It was just endless scenes of some random bathhouse girl doing some random shit. Leela going off to kill some random guard or senator. Bronte's being an angry boy. Delphi being a lesbian. And Tobias being a swooning idiot. There were so many useless characters introduced, and each one got a nice generic here's their hair, iron skin color description. Yeah. Okay. Criticism number 3, because the first one's just like she's unbearable in this one, right?
Yeah.
Criticism number 3. What the fuck is this magic system? How has Leela known how to shadow walk since she was a child but hasn't mastered it yet? How is Leela supposedly the most powerful being in the world, yet she can't kill Brontes directly? How does it make sense that he has allies at all when Leela supposedly has all the power? It just doesn't make sense. Even after Leela is killed like Brontes wants, the land will go to shit, all of it. They'll all die quickly, and he has no power to repair it. He won't live either. What the fuck is the point of his plan? How was he going to find a single person who thought his idea was even remotely good? The whole premise doesn't make any sense.
Brontes fucking Cosima, seriously, why the fuck did that idea come to Jenna's mind? And she thought, yeah, that'll get the point across. Girl, I understood Cosima was a double agent deal long ago. It was just so gross and unnecessary. Like, and it could have been done well. Like, yep. It could have. Okay. But because, like, Jenna's point is that promiscuous equals bad.
Yeah.
You know?
I am actually, like, the next criticism, I'm actually going to do a word count on this one. Give me a second.
Headed was pretty much the only verb she used, and it drove me nuts. Everyone was always headed somewhere. She almost never used it correctly. It just sounded wrong every single time. And here's the thing about things like that. I definitely have problems like this in my own writing, and I've been working harder to, like, fix those issues.
68 times. That's too many times to use a verb.
Yeah, because you and it's hard. It's really hard to fix those issues because you have to take such a critical look at your own writing and, you know, be willing to nitpick the shit out of what verbs you're using, what adverbs you're using, where you're using adverbs, where you're, like, you know, your sentence structures and stuff like that. And it's really hard to do. But to improve your writing, it's really necessary. So, yeah, it's just hard. How was Tobias, the criticism number 6, how was Tobias the only one to not know Layla as a savior when everyone else seemed to know? Is he seriously that dense? She did a bad job of hiding it in this book compared to TSC. My biggest critique, 35% of this book was literally copied and pasted from TSC. I get that it's the same story from Layla's perspective, but none of the scenes are different. It's just pages of the same dialogue I'd already read. This book wouldn't work as a standalone because we know so little about the tournament and the world we learned in TSC. It's even worse as a companion. It's awful. And Midnight Sun was better than this, I was going to say.
Yep. Okay, here's another review.
Real quick, though, something I said to Noah last night when I was talking to him about this book is that when we read Midnight Sun, our complaint was being in Edward's head. However, looking back on it, I'm glad I read it because it added a lot to Twilight. And we don't hang... Sorry.
It was, but even like the scenes that were like, well, there are a lot of scenes that were like the same scenes that were in Twilight. But because Edward would flash off to a memory or he was hearing everyone's thoughts or something else.
Yeah.
Those scenes were like 10 times longer.
Right. Well, we also, like, we either don't hang on them too long or we get genuinely new content. So like it worked as a companion. And then I can't stand authors who just toy around with the Amazon lists and claim to be bestsellers. You only need to sell a certain amount of copies, I think less than 100, in like an hour in your super niche category, and you're labeled a top seller.
Yep. Here's a review a few down. It's short and it's sweet. You don't need to read this book to continue on with the story. You learn nothing new except that the main character is a psycho.
True. That is one thing about Amazon lists is that you don't have to do a lot to be a #1 bestseller on Amazon.
Yeah. Okay. So this one is like cut. This one's like way down in this really long review, but it's this one's about like this point is about Brontes. Brontes, man, same problem as with Layla. Lots of talking about how he's this super dangerous villain, and oh my god, he is so bad and so dangerous, and he's been politically maneuvering for 20 years and set up this master plan, and I've mentioned that he's dangerous, but what we see is just a petty asshole. With a short fuse who is so one-dimensional, he might as well be twirling his moustache.
It's true. And you know what? Here's the thing. Have your villain twirl his mustache. But
and staple his fingers.
Yes. Staple
twirl
his fingers.
Mustache with his
twirl his mustache, staple his fingers, but have him do something. Yeah, pet his cat, twirl his mustache, staple his fingers, but have him do something. You know what? If there was a villain that twirled his mustache, I stand that energy. I love it, but make him do something evil. Like,
everyone loves a flamboyant villain. Okay, everyone loves. Who doesn't?
We love that energy, but
wait. Okay, so even though my review of Book 1 TSC was not particularly favorable, I do think the story of itself was very memorable. The action scenes were gripping, and overall dark fantasy plot was intriguing. So I didn't need a refresher to notice that The Savior's Sister is the exact same book with just a few more cock jokes to replace the cunt jokes. Absolutely nothing happened that we didn't already know or couldn't easily infer, except we do learn that Leela is a poor leader, shoddy strategist, and even worse sister. She alienates Cosima and allows Pippa, her little duckling, mentally handicapped sister, to wander freely through the labyrinth sanctuary with 15-plus rapists. Again, with such a low bar for romantic partners, Tobias seems the best choice by default. Every relationship story problem in TSC and now TSS could have been solved with the bare minimum of communication and emotional intelligence from Leela. She may not have the approval of the 10 or less men attempting to usurp her throne, but for crying out loud, she has glowing superpowers. Not to mention the entire fortress, no, a country of adoring allies.
I mean, that is actually a good point about Tobias being one of the only people in that group of suitors who's not a rapist. And here's the thing: why is everybody a rapist, Jenna? And I mean, not all men this, but not the vast majority of men are rapists.
Yeah, like it's not a not all men thing; it's a not most men. Most men.
I'm really tired. Rapey. I'm just so tired of the rapey trope to make a guy bad.
Can't a guy just be a dick?
Yeah, writing advice from the public say men can be dicks without being rapey.
Like Ben, even though Ben was lovable from the get-go, but he wasn't. I mean, he was suspected of rape, but he never acted rapey.
Yeah. Like
he never acted rapey.
You don't have to make people rapey. I love the one with like the cart, the seatbelt. If I have to read the word cock one more time.
Yep. Okay, so you can see.
Like what is this? A monarchy, an oligarchy? Are there castes, nobility, political figures? How's power distributed? I would like to know too. You know?
Yep. Okay. And now we have a sycophant rating. That starts off with, Jenna is a magical cyborg and bless me with an E-arc in exchange for an honest review. So when you started off calling the author a magical cyborg who blessed you with an arc, we know that we're not getting an honest review.
Yeah.
You know you're not.
I'm looking at the positive reviews because now I'm interested. TSS delves much deeper into the world. Does it really? Interesting and complicated realm. Where? unforgettable characters where?
Well, it is complicated because none of it makes sense. So that they're right. It is complicated because it doesn't make sense. Why is there a Senate and an aristocracy in like? Okay,
The savior is no damsel in distress. Okay.
No, she's a psychopath. I will say, like, okay, I do want to clarify as well. I know that you can have an aristocracy and a Senate, but it's not really a Senate. Like in the UK, they have a House of Lords, which is like the equivalent of a Senate, and most of that is the aristocracy.
Well, most governments cannot be summed up by one word. So you can have like a republic that is also an oligarchy that is also socialist. You can have a socialist
like the UK
republic.
the UK is a I just had the word in my head.
It's a parliamentary monarchy. It's a
constitutional monarchy.
Yeah, it's a constitutional monarchy. There we go.
Yeah, so there's a parliament. The Queen, while she has the ability to like veto it, like to dissolve the government, she also through the Governor General here can dissolve the government. The Queen very rarely exercises her power because that's a smart thing to do. If she wants the monarchy to stay, the smart thing to do is to just be the figurehead tourist attraction. But yeah, the Queen has a lot of power. She just doesn't use it because she doesn't need to.
Layla is an exceptionally wonderful and a badass and a real bad bitch.
She's a bad bitch.
She's a bad bitch.
Not in a good way, guys.
Anyway, I'm gonna go eat breakfast.
I'm gonna go to bed.
Yep. And
enjoy your breakfast. Have a good day.
I will. And we will do something else. I think Monday we said.
Oh, Monday we're doing Fire and
Jenny
Ash
book. Yeah, it's a Jenny book.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
So we will talk to you guys then.
Bye.
Bye, guys.